Welcome to Security Nation, an ESA podcast that brings you the voice of electronic security and life safety. We bring on security pros to discuss the latest industry happenings, new technology, and best practices, telling your story to become the ever-present voice in an ever-changing industry. I'd like to introduce this episode's guests. We have Garner, President of the Alarm Division at Pye Barker Fire and Safety, and we also have Troy Iverson, Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing at AvantGuard Monitoring. Thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thanks, Hannah, for having us. We're excited. I'm excited to be here with you today.
Me too. So this is our first episode with two guests. So listeners, please give us some grace if we accidentally talk over each other at points. We're going to be doing our best. We're doing this remotely, so it's a little bit harder to gauge when the next person's going to start saying something, but I'm excited. We're going to be talking about some interesting topics today related to monitoring trends and best practices to reduce false dispatches. But before we get into that, I would like for both of you to maybe tell our listeners a little bit about your background and your roles in the electronic security industry.
Troy, I'll jump in if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
My name's Garner, and I'm a third-generation alarm person, I guess. My grandfather was a dairy farmer in Pleasant View, Utah, in the early 50s, and he didn't make any money dairy farming, and so he bought a fire alarm company in 1955 that sold wind-up heat detectors, and he grew that business over the next 20 years, and then my father, who was his son-in-law, ran the business for the next 45 years, and then I've been full-time with the family business since 2007, and we recently, as of December 2021, merged with Pye Barker Fire and Safety. So I've done every job on the alarm side of the business you can imagine. I don't think my dad made it easy on me. He made me do all the hard jobs and all the jobs nobody wanted to do for less money than he paid anyone else to do it. So I think I'm fairly well-rounded in the alarm world, from installing to sales to management to acquisitions, and primarily I like to think of myself as an alarm operator first, as far as managing and growing a business, and kind of a specialist with mergers and acquisitions second. So we do a lot of acquisitions and have historically, even before we merged with Pye Barker, but since we've merged, our funding has been wonderful, and we've been able to acquire some really awesome businesses in the industry over the last 12 months. So anyway, I'm excited to be here with you, Hannah, and you, Troy.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, my roots don't go back quite as far as the Garner roots, but I've been in this industry for 15 years, all with AvantGuard Monitoring. Also in 2007, I heard you say, Eric, that's when I decided to join this crazy security industry that I love. And I've been 15 years here at AvantGuard, and my role has been to grow AvantGuard, to get the word out of who we are and what we are about, and the culture that is there at AvantGuard, the services, the quick responses, and we truly are a wholesale alarm monitoring facility that monitor all across all 50 states, into Canada, into Mexico, and the Caribbean, and just continue to grow. And we're looking overseas, and it's just really exciting. We love to save lives. We love to save properties, and we call all of our employees heroes because they save lives and property every day. And that's what we do, and that's what I love to do.
Troy, you have any idea how many accounts AvantGuard monitored in 2007?
Yeah, in 2007, it was close to, when I came on board, close to 42,000 accounts, if I'm not mistaken, is where it was in 2007.
And do you know where you guys are at today?
Yeah, we're at 1.5 million subscribers and growing rapidly, which is fun.
That's awesome. That is
so it's been a fun ride the last 15 years for sure, and we're just ramping up. We have lofty goals, and we're excited, and so it's been a fun past, but we definitely look to the future, learn from the past, and look to the future. And there's some exciting things coming.
Absolutely. Well, it seems like you've been achieving your goal of hitting that growth over those 15 years. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of jumping into, monitoring trends and everything. We had at ESX 2022 in June, an education session that you, Troy, were one of the speakers on. The session was, I believe, new monitoring trends and practices that reduce false alarm and dispatches. I have it over here. And that's kind of what started this whole, conversation, is that I kind of wanted to go into some of the things you discussed during that education session, but here on the podcast. So people who, may not have been able to get there for some reason can still kind of get those insights that you shared. And we also thought it would be great to have, one of your integrators to be able to share their insights directly as well to what Eric thinks, and related to this topic. So I guess my first question would be, why do you think there is such a high false dispatch rate? And either one of you can take that.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that one, and then let Eric fill in the blanks. But thanks, Hannah. And for those that didn't get a chance to attend ESX this last June, it was great. It's always a great show, and I know there's the next one's in Louisville, Kentucky, next June as well. So we hope, I'll put a little plug in for ESA that I hope you attend. It is a great event, and we appreciate it. There's a lot of educational pieces that we've enjoyed being part of, and of course having a booth and et cetera, but it's just a great place to go. So there's your plug, Hannah.
Thank you.
I hope you all, those listening, next year. But you're right. False alarms has been and continues to be a concern for police departments, being overwhelmed, police departments not wanting to go. And I know there's a few things we'll talk about down the road, but the question, why do you think there's such a high false alarm? And I think there's a lot of reasons. I'll bring up a few. Eric, you maybe fill in the blanks as well. And I think it's important. And let's go back to when they get the installation. The installer goes into the home or the business, and they install it. I think that's a perfect opportunity for these technicians to train the owners of the home or the building how to use an alarm. I think it's very important. I think that could improve. I think there's been not the best training, and I think that definitely then hurts when they're going to arm or disarm or what to do. A lot of false alarms will come in, specifically that first few weeks of having a new alarm system. We see a lot of that happening. We see trends that, when, especially in residential, when school starts, kids leave for school, their parents are at work, they leave for school, or they come home early and they just forget or don't know how to use the alarm system. So I think it's important that the children know how to arm or disarm the alarm properly. I think that's a big thing. Or new employees is also another one that, you get new employees coming and going, as we do, now it's crazy. A lot of new employees are coming and going. Make sure they are training those new employees how to arm or disarm. I think it's a big thing as well. And I know video verification is a hot topic, and we at the Central Station, we love that, but we also kind of are struggling with video verification and the fact that some of the systems out there are not having any kind of AI or artificial intelligence associated with their video accounts or their equipment. And anytime the wind blows, anytime a car drives by, it's sending false alarms. And again, it's making sure the technician is properly installing the video, properly training, properly having the right equipment that has AI that helps us as a monitoring station reduce those false alarms. So top of my head, that's what that comes to my mind.
That's wonderful feedback. Other thoughts that I had on this topic, if you think of the history of alarms, the digital dialer was invented in the 70s. And so if you think about the last 50 years, we've got systems out there, a number of companies, especially traditional companies around the country that started in the 70s, we've got customers out there that have systems that are way old or, not properly maintained, not properly inspected. And so what we find, AvantGuard is a phenomenal partner for us, and we get a weekly dashboard report of our top 10 offenders. And so we can identify and this is for every geographical location that we service customers, we'll get a report of the top 10 offenders of false alarms. And if you think about it, as a business owner, my number one thing is I want to keep my customers as long as possible, if not forever. And how do you lower attrition? Well, you're proactive. You don't wait for the customer to call and say, hey, the police have been out or the fire department has been out, 20 times in the last 30 days. We need to, as dealers, as alarm companies, we need to be the ones proactively monitoring who's having troubles, who needs service, and getting there proactively. So I think, systems, back in the day, fire systems routinely lasted 20 years. Some of the old radionics and Bosch and digital monitoring products, platforms, and even some Honeywell products, they made them so solid they could last 10, 20 years. And so these customers get used to the consistency there, and then something wears out, and, we need to do a better job as an industry of pushing the new technologies and upgrading. And, but I think the way we do that as operators is we get those reports of our worst offenders each day, each week, and then put our service departments on it to upgrade equipment, fix, whatever problem detectors it may be. So I think that most of the time when you have a bad offender where police departments or fire departments get upset, there's usually a piece of faulty equipment that's worn out, and, the customer's not paying attention, or the dealer or the operators, the alarm company's not paying attention. Next thing you know, the trucks have been rolled out there a half a dozen times in the city, or the jurisdiction is mad at us, mad at the customer. And so I think we just, as operators, need to do a better job of being proactive. And AvantGuard's done a great job of providing that data. Just every dealer needs to do a good job of, making it a top priority every week. And if you think about it, if we take care of our customers, they're going to stay with us a lot longer. And if we take care of our community police departments and fire departments, they're going to be a lot more willing to respond to alarms, because it's much more likely that they're real.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a win-win situation if we as an industry can better tackle this issue. What are some forms of alarm verification or practices that are newer and look promising to you both?
We have something, Hannah, we're excited about. It's been out in the industry now for a couple years, and we call it AgChat internally. Dealers use it, and they could call it whatever, Pye Barker chat or whatever, they call that on their end. But let me explain what this is, and we're excited. We won an award at ESX for it that definitely helps with the false alarm, lowering that rate there. But so in the past, traditionally an alarm would go off, and our operators would then call you, Hannah, and you may not be there, and it rings for a few minutes, and we leave a message, and we call Eric on one of your contacts and so forth. And it's just long. It's cumbersome. It can take up to 5 minutes before really we get a hold of someone or dispatch, and it's just a long time. And so what we have found, that an interesting statistic is that 30% of all of our calls are actually answered. So that's 70% of all of our calls going out are not answered. So I know I don't answer my phone all the time if I don't recognize a number. Hannah, you probably are the same. Eric, probably the same. You just don't recognize a number. But we've also found that 98% of text messages are read. So with this data points, we've created this AgChat. When an alarm goes off, it automatically within seconds will send you and all your contacts a text message letting the subscriber know that they've had an alarm at their place. And there's a link, a secured link that they would click on that brings them into a chat room. And they can see all their contacts, who is in the chat room. There's different colors and bubbles of those that are in there that shows who's there, and they could chat. Hey, was this you? No, it wasn't me. Oh, it was Eric. Sorry, that was me. And then from there, they can cancel that alarm. They put in their passcode, they cancel the alarm, off it goes. Doesn't even actually come to an operator. It does go into the history, so we're reviewing that, so we could go back and say, oh, looks like Eric canceled this with his passcode, great. If it's a verified alarm, like, no, it's not me, or I see someone here, they could request dispatch, which then goes to our queue of operators, and it's the high priority. It goes right to our operators. They know to dispatch right away. It's a verified dispatch. And so instead of waiting 5+ minutes for a dispatch, it happens on average now 44 seconds to a dispatch. We've noticed as well with our statistics that false alarm dispatches have decreased by 60% of those that use this AgChat feature. And we love it. And that's a huge thing that we've really pushed dealers and really the end users really expect efficiency, and they are used to getting text messages. Right. Yeah, we get it. There's some that don't have smartphones, and we don't have to do them. We'll continue to do the, traditional calling on some of those. But let me add on here, if we have a 90-second delay on this, so if no activity, no one's logging in, no one's doing anything with that chat, then we will go down just like we normally would and call contact 1, contact 2, whatever, until we get a hold of someone. So, but we love it. That's our biggest thing that we've done. I have a few others, but Eric, I know, has implemented this on his accounts. Eric, any feedback or anything else that you have on this chat feature?
Yeah, so we love AgChat. We've been doing it for a few years, and a number of our companies that we've acquired and moved to AvantGuard services have added it. And what we find is people just absolutely love it, and it does reduce the number of false alarms. I'm a customer of AvantGuard as well, and so we protect our corporate office in Utah with AvantGuard, with a AvantGuard monitored system. And so oftentimes we have janitors that come in after hours, and at a certain time of night, our system automatically arms, and quite often they may still be in the building, or occasionally they may even be in the building. They'll trip the alarm. It goes to about 4 of the principals who are kind of responsible for the building. We get a chat, basically a text message. We click it, and it pulls it up. And at that point, I'll hop on my video app and see if janitors are in the building, see if IT's doing a late night update, really quickly figure out who's there and if I recognize them or not, and then disregard or say, hey, yeah, I don't know who that is, let's dispatch. And it's definitely reduced a number of false alarms that we've had historically. So I think for commercial properties, it's wonderful when you have people coming and going all hours of the day and night. And we find that all of our customers really enjoy this feature. So yeah, I think it's been kind of something that we've been able to present as a value add. So when we announce it, it's not an opt-in, it's an opt-out. And so change is hard for some customers, and we have a few that say, hey, I still want the operator to call, and I promise I'll answer. But for the most part, people are enjoying this additional technology. And so, we're offering it as, hey, this is a huge upgrade to you guys. We don't charge extra for it. It's a free service because ultimately it helps AvantGuard keep operator hours down and false dispatches down. And so ultimately the cities and jurisdictions and our central station is happier with us as an alarm company. So we feel like it's really good for our reputation in the communities that we serve to reduce these false alarms. And this has definitely been a big help. I think other technology that's out there on the cellular providers side, I think AlarmNet and Telguard and SecureCom and Alarm.com are all doing better and better. And a lot of these apps that customers have, whether commercial or residential, have an abort button. As soon as you walk in and trip the alarm and the siren's screaming at you, if you open your app, or you'll get a push notification, you can abort that alarm before it ever goes out to the police department. And so I think everybody in the industry is coming together, from the central station to the cellular providers, to the alarm companies to try to reduce these false dispatches. I think the other thing that we have going for us or against us as an industry is more and more people keep adding security services. And so we get better and better, but there's more systems in every police jurisdiction. And so we have to be better. Otherwise, false alarms will continue to grow, even though maybe we reduce it from, one a year per site to, a half per site, or, we're doing better and better. There's just more and more systems in the community. So we really need to band together as an industry and kind of establish best practices, from training the customers to, vendors providing the apps, to monitoring centers getting the technology to have a chat type feature. I think all of those are really big. I think the other thing that people should be comforted in, chat is not available on fire accounts. So there's no way anyone can disregard a fire trouble supervisory or a fire alarm. So none of our fire customers have AgChat. It's really a security driven feature. So anyway, I think that it's definitely a huge win and been positive. But I know a lot of alarm company operators are hesitant to embrace change, and the reality is of the 1.5 million accounts AvantGuard monitors, I doubt 1.5 million are subscribed to chat. But it is getting more and more and more. But even dealers have to embrace the change and embrace the additional technology. And when we roll it out, we make sure we communicate well to the customers, and we'll send emails. We will send a letter in a billing statement and kind of announce this new technology that's coming available. We've rolled it out in certain markets without notice, and people are worried it's fraudulent or phishing or a scam, and they call in and say, "Hey, is this real?" Very quickly they realize, yeah, this is a new technology and it is real, and ultimately it's very positive. But the more you can communicate with your customers prior to the rollout, the better it will go. So, but overall, it's a huge win for the industry and a huge success for us, and makes us look good as an alarm company.
And it's free.
Yeah, I know.
It's great.
I know. You actually touched on something, Eric, that I was kind of curious about. So it sounds like the chat verification feature, I don't know, has a lot of power, a lot of positives. So what has the adoption looked like amongst dealers in the industry with adopting, the technology?
So we, as a company, just decided it was something we were going to do standard. So like I said, customers have to opt out, and as opposed to opt in. And I think if dealers take that stance, we're going to reduce a lot of false alarms and a lot of false dispatches. And so we've just agreed to be a good partner and guinea pig for AvantGuard over the last really 3 or 4 years that it's been available. And every time we add accounts, it's automatically set up and just part of the service. And it's free from AvantGuard, and it's free for our customers. We consider it a value add. It's something we do that maybe not everybody offers or does. But anyway, I think dealers need to be brave and, make it an opt-out program, not an opt-in program, if we really want to tackle false alarms.
I think that the purpose of today as well is talking about false alarms, Hannah, and I said it and I'm going to repeat myself here, is that those that have decided to use it, we have seen the false alarm dispatches decrease by 60%. That, like I said, numbers don't lie. You hear this, that's a huge number, and that helps everybody in the industry.
No, absolutely. And ESA has recognized, the difference that these technologies make. And we actually came out with an official resolution, I think it was August 24th, a resolution to support alarm dispatch reduction technology. So yeah, I mean, you heard it here, folks. This stuff does make a difference. And I think monitoring centers and dealers, when they do adopt it, they make it as easy as possible for the end user. And like you said, I think training is kind of the key piece. If the technology works, the next portion of that is just making sure everyone understands how all the technology works. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. And I think a couple of things that kind of go with this, Troy kind of touched on early on that, the dealer or the alarm company technicians training the customers. So we have certain branches when we install an intrusion alarm where we might talk to the customer and say, hey, do you want to leave this on test for, 48 hours or a couple of days so you guys can kind of test coming in and out of these doors, and how much time does it take for you to disarm, whether from the app or whether it's from the keypad. And but along with that is, actually setting off the alarm, having the chat pop up on the customer's phone, explaining, hey, this is AgChat. This is how we want you to use it. You should, definitely use this feature, talk amongst your call list, and resolve the potential false alarm or, the potential real burglary that's taking place, and decide to dispatch a lot faster and or cancel a dispatch before we have to send the police out on accident. And so I think there's some training that we can do with having our technicians train the customers directly and actually setting off the alarm and going through that system and showing them how it works, from, the interactive app abort button to the chat feature. And, I think that is a huge part, is just educating the customers.
Yeah, let me add one more thing. I think it's just a small little nugget that I think is good for dealers to hear, and when their technicians are installing, afterwards are doing the training. What I've seen successful is they have the homeowner or business owner pull up their phones and add in the monitoring center's phone number as a contact. So Pye Barker or Mountain Alarm, they know. So when an operator is calling them, it is not just some number that they don't see. It's just a random number. Because, again, 70% are not answering their phone. But if they see XYZ dealer monitoring calling, well, they know that's the alarm. They know that answer the phone. That helps us. That helps them. That little piece, that little nugget there is huge. So I would definitely highly recommend the dealers do that.
No, I know. That's 100% true. Yeah, I know. The amount of times, I don't know, I've talked to someone and I've noticed that they just don't answer their phone. I mean, all the time. I mean, I'm one of those people. If I don't recognize the number, I definitely second guess picking it up. So having contact info in there, I think would definitely, make an impact. So kind of going to my next question, how can these technologies potentially generate RMR or lower attrition? Are they capable of doing those things when adopted?
I think for sure on the lower attrition, customers want to feel like they have the best technology, the best, services, and this is best in class. Everyone should be doing this. And ultimately, I think if the police aren't upset at the particular customer and issuing false alarm fines because they've been out there 5 times in the last 30 days, the customers are ultimately going to like us a lot more too. So I think the AgChat is a huge value add and definitely lowers attrition because it's just one more touch point where we're being proactive to make sure the customer is protected and safe. And so I think it's something that customers will come to expect if they don't already expect it.
Great.
Yeah, attrition's huge. That's just, for Eric, he's talking about the end user attrition. We don't work with end users directly per se. Contractually wise, we work with dealers like Eric, and it's so important that central stations stay up to date on technology to keep I look at attrition as dealers not leaving us to go to a competitor, and definitely what can we do? That's just one of the things. Another neat thing that just helps dealers, and it's unique in the fact, is Eric briefly talked about our dashboard. And this dashboard is we have so much data at the central station. We just have a ton, and we we present it, in the old ways, it was you get a report on a weekly or monthly or whatever basis, a big email. Now we've created this nice dashboard that's easy to look at, easy to read, with pie charts and graphics. And Eric mentioned the alarm offenders, the top alarm offenders, and I'm glad to hear he's using that to be proactive, to call on those and help train. There's all sorts of different, we call them widgets on there. That's one of the widgets. We talk about attrition and how we help dealers with attrition. There's a new one out there that we love. This is more for residential per se, but it's called an MLS widget. And let me explain this a little bit because it's unique and I think dealers will love it, especially on the residential side. We have all your contacts or your customer information. Each week, we throw that through this MLS software, and then we generate a nice report on this dashboard. They can see what accounts they have their homes are up for sale, what accounts have sold, what accounts are in contract. And why is that important? Well, to be proactive, to help with attrition, they can then go to reach out to a homeowner like, hey, you're a customer. I see that you're selling your home. Where are you moving? Great. Can we, install an alarm system at your home, train them, get them up to speed on there. They add an account. And then when are you moving? Great. They could go in and talk to the new homeowner of that existing home where the panel's already in the home, train them as well, get them under contract. So not only are they going to lose, they're not going to lose an account, they're actually going to gain an account. So we found that to be huge for, as we talk about attrition, how do we help our dealers and how do the dealers continue to grow their RMR? Those little things like that are huge that we do. And again, that all goes back to the customer interaction and training and help with false alarm. It all kind of ties itself together. So just a few little things that we're just constantly doing, trying to improve and help our dealers.
So I think that's a perfect example. So our Phoenix office is pretty much 100% fire alarm. And they had a few good offenders that continually had false alarms. And we're doing big systems, huge school districts, huge industrial facilities. And when you have that many devices, you're prone to have some problems. And so we use that dashboard every single week in every location, but particularly in Arizona. It kind of tracks an alarm factor or how often the operators at AvantGuard need to interact with our customers or respond to a trouble or an alarm. And we've seen, since we started making that kind of a key indicator with our management team, we have seen our alarm factor cut in half over the last 12 months as we have made it a priority to go out to the top 10 offenders. It's also lowered attrition because now we have 10, every week we have 10 customers that we proactively go out and do service on, upgrade panels, figure out what the problem is. And they love it because we're not waiting for them to call. We're seeing, hey, here's a top 10 of concern. Let's reach out proactively and say, hey, we noticed you've had a few troubles or a few false dispatches, we'll be there this afternoon. And so we've seen it generate additional service revenue. We've also seen it lower attrition because these customers are ultimately happier that we are being proactive on their behalf. And so I can't speak highly enough of the dashboard that AvantGuard provides us.
It's great. Glad to use it, Eric. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So over the podcast, we've gone over potential reasons for the high false dispatch rate, potential technologies that kind of help address these issues, how they can lower attrition, and potentially even might be able to gain new customers if you have proper training and the right tools to be able to view everything accurately.
Hannah, I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah,
I want to interrupt you for just 1 second. We've actually, with the AgChat reduction in false dispatches and then our efforts in utilizing the dashboard to go fix the runaway troubles or problems at the top 10 offenders in each of our markets. We have some markets where fire marshals will actually tell customers who are having problems with other companies to call us. And so it definitely really does generate additional business because the fire department, they know what they see, the police chief and dispatch, and they know what they see. And a lot of times we genuinely get leads and we are recommended by those, city fire marshals and city chief of police because of our efforts. So I think, definitely lowers attrition, but definitely an opportunity just to have a good reputation in the communities that we serve and get referral business from those people.
That's great, right? I mean, I think that's what we all want is for our first responders to be able to trust us and trust us so much that we're going to show it, the alarms that we send out, that they're going to be accurate, that there's actually going to be an emergency, and for them to be able to feel like, okay, that's the person that we can trust. When there's an alarm going off, there's an actual alarm situation where we need to send out the dispatch and show up. No, that's fabulous. What do you think, big picture, like if the false dispatch rate doesn't improve, I mean, what are the consequences? Do we lose that trust with those first responders and the dispatch centers?
Unfortunately, yes. For sure. And we could have no dispatch. I mean, there are some cities that are no dispatch, or, there are some that, few cities that are, you have to send a guard first, a guard response, which just increases cost for the end user, for sure. So, yes, there's definitely consequences out there. Alarm, the fines. We're seeing cities that, they give 1 or 2 grace alarms per month or per year, but those fines will just continue to increase. So non-dispatch fines, yes, and losing trust, that's like worst case scenario that we're trying to avoid. And that's why we're putting a lot of effort. ESA is putting a lot of effort, central stations, dealers, we got to put this work together to combat this so we don't have those worst case scenarios.
Yeah, we're seeing it all around the country every day. Not on fire alarm, but definitely on police response, where certain jurisdictions are saying, "Hey, we're going to be non-response unless it's a verified alarm," and then we either have to do video verification, or the customer has to verify, or a guard has to verify. And that's not new. We've seen it in different locations. In some locations, they don't go as far to say we're non-responding, but I know that there's certain cities where you dispatch and the police department or the sheriff may not show up for 2 hours or 3 hours. And so I think it'll be more and more the responsibility of the alarm company working with their customers to come up with what kind of response do you want. But yeah, I think the better we do, the more likely we are to keep the trust of the the first responders. And go back to the story of crying wolf. If you cry wolf too many times, the villagers aren't going to believe you, and the first responders will not believe us if they responded to an alarm at this address every night this week.
Right. Well, I think we're about at time, so I think we covered a lot of ground on this episode, and I thank you both for coming on the podcast. And to our listeners out there, I hope this encouraged you to, if you're a dealer and integrator out there who hasn't adopted some of this technology that we've mentioned, to look into it more, do a little bit more research, maybe contact your monitoring center and see if they're offering different technologies like this. And if they're not, maybe push them in that direction. And, if you're in a jurisdiction, for example, that has gone non-response or something related, you can reach out to ESA, and we can do our best to link you up with other dealers in your area and kind of put you in communication with people in your jurisdiction to move the needle on that. And we're just here to support you in the industry. Everyone on this call is as well. And I'd just like to thank you again for joining and listening, and I hope it's been educational for you. Any final messages?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say thanks for, having us on, and we appreciate the ESA. Thank you for your hard work, and we support you. We'll continue to support. You've done great with the city, being an advocate for dealers and central stations and helping and trainings. And I think that's what's important. And that's what our ask is continue to help and educate and get the word out of new technologies and what we could do better. And we need to help each other because this is an amazing industry and it's growing and things are changing. I'm excited about it, but we do need to gather together and just continue to help each other grow. So thank you.
I'm extremely grateful to the industry in general. I think we've got wonderful manufacturing partners, vendors, central station partners across the industry. I think ESA is a phenomenal organization helping us kind of combine efforts. And I just want to express my gratitude to ESA and the alarm industry in general, whether you're an alarm operator or whether you're a supplier or a vendor or a distributor. It's a collective effort, and I think we are getting better and better and better, and technology keeps improving, and we need to keep embracing it and encouraging it and adopting it. We can have all the great technologies in the world, but if we don't sign our customers up for it and turn it on, it's not going to change anything. So I think we need to be willing to embrace the change and provide what our customers ultimately demand.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again for coming on the Security Nation podcast. I really appreciate it. I love this episode. A lot of good information that we were able to fit in this 40 minutes or so. And to our listeners, make sure that you subscribe. We're on all podcasting platforms, and the full video version of this episode will be available on YouTube. And if you're curious about how ESA membership can power your business, please visit our website at esaweb.org. Take some time to schedule a discovery call with our membership team. They're awesome. You'll be happy you did. And have a great day, Security Pros.